Welcome back. We got word yesterday that Hiram Montserrat, a former New York City councilman and state senator, will get 2 years in prison for misusing city funds. His buddy, Pedro Espada, another former state senator, has pleaded guilty to stealing from a clinic that he ran. He faces prison time. And Carl Kruger, another former state senator, was sentenced to 7 years in prison after pleading guilty to corruption charges. So, why do we bring this up? Because they were all part of the 2009 coup that turned Albany upside down. Remember? Well, it seems that history just might be repeating itself. And while we're not in any way comparing those three amigos, if you will, to these 5 members of the brand new independent Democratic conference, it is worth noting that we're again seeing state senators in Albany switching sides in an apparent power play. And Governor Cuomo, the state's Democratic governor, reportedly knew about the arrangement. For supporters, the new arrangement means a brand new era of bipartisanship in Albany, but for some more cynical longtime Albany watchers, it feels like the same old script, different actors. And so I guess I'll start on this side of the room. What is going on? Why the Democratic switch?
Well, I think anytime, you have a caucus that's kind of on the precipice of going one way or the other, you're going to get people thinking about how, they can have more influence over the process. And so, I think that's what's going on here. You have a group of senators who clearly, want to get their views on legislation into the thing, and they think this is the best way to do it. That obviously means a little bit of tumult within the Democratic Party. It kind of remains to be seen how this is all going to play out. But, I think that's what's going on here.
Guys, can you say with a straight face this is good government?
Actually, I think it's better government. And look, I mean, I'm
better
than the alternative. And Nick left that out. I mean, it's also
what's the alternative first of all?
The alternative is a return to the dysfunction that we had when the Democrats ran the majority conference, 4 years ago now, and they proved undeniably that they were not up to the task, and I have not yet seen anything to tell me that they're up to it. But not even withstanding that, let's take the dysfunction and the corruption aside. I'm an upstater, right? I live north of Westchester, or north of the city. And candidly, the fact of the matter is that, this is a New York City dominated state and New York City dominated interest. So the ability to have a functioning bipartisan effort in the Senate that allows those suburban and upstate interests to be represented, I think is healthy and good government. So it may be born out of the interest of power, but I actually think it's going to result in better government.
Okay, but wait a minute. Let's switch this now. If it were three Republican senators going over to the Democratic side, throwing control of the state Senate to Democrats, would it still be good government or better government?
No, I'm telling you, it's resulting in better government. It's resulting in better government because they can work with Governor Cuomo on his agenda and have a working relationship. That's one. And by the way, I don't agree with his entire agenda, so that but it has been functional. No one would disagree whether you agree with the results or not that it's been functional. So yeah, it's resulting in better government because they're better at exercising power.
Okay, Nick, but wait, hold on for 1 second. Let's take a look at some of the criticism with a serious face here. And here's a statement. I understand, Mr. Catalfamo, but let's take a look at a comment from the Citizen Action of New York, in which they are saying.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, here's what they are saying. Quote, New Yorkers voted for a progressive agenda, and if the IDC, the group of Democrats, is putting that agenda at risk, if the Senate passes Governor Cuomo's public funding of election bills, an increase in the minimum wage, and fair funding for our schools, then I'll give credit where credit is due. If they don't, then this will just be another Albany coup.
Minimum wage wasn't on the ballot. Fair funding for elections wasn't on the ballot. Individual members were on the ballot. Sorry.
Exactly. And it goes beyond the issues. And I don't think you can point anywhere where this election said that people are looking for a progressive agenda. I think they're looking for. In New
York, I think you can.
Well, I think they're looking for better government. I think people are happy with what's going on in Albany because the general dysfunction is over. The mess and the circus that was our state Senate a couple of years ago, and
Right, but I think
prior to the coup and with the coup. It turned our entire state government into a circus. That's when we definitely earned the title, not just the pointing the finger of being the most dysfunctional government. And quite frankly, not only, I don't think you can point to anything that says that the voters wanted this, that this is exactly what they asked for. I think they want a cooperative government that's going to work together and push together an agenda that majority of New Yorkers agree to and want to see.
Well, I'd say two things. I mean, one, you're right that New Yorkers want cooperation. I think I saw a Quinnipiac poll that said, you know, they were presented with what happened here, and they said, yeah, they want cooperative government. They want cooperative government because they see what's going on in Washington, they see what's going on in other places, and they want, you know, they just want stuff to get done. Where I disagree with my Republican colleagues is that there's no demand for a progressive agenda in the state. I mean, when the voters went to the ballot boxes, more Democrats got elected than Republicans did, and in the state Senate level, at the state assembly level, at the congressional level, they voted for Barack Obama. So there's a pretty clear demand.
The state Senate delivered on one of the most progressive measures in recent history with the gay marriage vote. So I mean, so that didn't actually end up in them being returned to office. So I don't know how that's in fact they ended up losing almost all.
Your Democratic governor had a successful 2 years with the legislature that was in place. Trust me, this is the legislature that your governor wants to see in place.
You mentioned Governor Cuomo, and it appears that his fingerprint is all over this. Should Democratic voters have a problem with that?
Oh, that's for Nick.
I didn't want to put you on the spot.
No, like I said before, you know, I think the Democratic voter, I think voters of New York State, you know, want what the governor's agenda. They overwhelmingly give him a high approval rating. They want a progressive agenda.
But they voted for a Democrat, so shouldn't it be Democratic causes and Democratic issues if you voted for a
But I
Democrat?
think it's very possible. What we don't know is how this is all going to play out. Like the woman said in your quote, you know, if this plays out with the minimum wage bill and a bunch of things that Democrats like, then they should be happy. If it doesn't, I think you're going to see breaking within the ranks of the IDC.
Why does everyone want bipartisanship and cooperation when Republicans are in charge, but then when the Democrats
I've got to take this break, but you mentioned how this is going to play out. I just want one more quick response here from Congressman-elect Hakeem Jeffries, who's apparently not too happy with this, in which he says, quote, "This newly minted coalition of convenience empowers a Republican Party that has been rejected by the voters. The power grab by the demographically challenged Republican conference and their allies will enable Dean Skelos to block progress, stifle reform, and undermine public policy changes important to communities of color." What about that part of it? You have a bunch of African-American lawmakers that are up in arms saying that they've been thrown out of power here with this deal, with this agreement.
You know, I think that's a legitimate criticism. You know, again, I would urge us all to just see how it plays out. I mean, the governor represents all of the state, and he's got an agenda. I think the governor supports communities of color, so let's see how his agenda with this power sharing setup goes forward.
Okay, on that note, we do have to take a quick break, but when we return, we will ask if America has a gun problem in the wake of yet another shooting. Is there the political will to do something about it? Stay with us.